The swinging member. Background. I work away from home 9 to 10 months a year. I'm 32, my wife is 32. No kids. I have trust issues. We have been separated for about a year, living 20 minutes from each other when I am home. We maintain the same relationship after she moved out as before. Married 7 years. As I sit halfway around the world, I find out my wife gets a hotel room in a town 4 hours from our house. Her entire family, as in 10 plus people, live in this town, so I'm suspicious as to why she got a hotel room when she could stay with numerous people. I then find out she drives to the port to pick up a guy she met on a cruise with her family a couple weeks prior. She took him back to the hotel for 3 hours, then back to the port. I confronted her about all of this and she lied, telling me the guy was an unwanted boyfriend that fell in love with her sister on the cruise. She had to run interference for her sister, since her sister had another man at her apartment when this guy came in. She said nothing happened other than looking at photos from the cruise. Friendship only. I don't believe her. I have many times in the past told her how some of the things she does make me uncomfortable. This would be an example. Even if she really did what she said she did, I don't think that is something a married woman should do. I blow up thinking the worst. A week of sleepless night go by and I try to ignore my brain and go with my heart, which is now broken in a million pieces. I asked her to disclose her email passwords, so I can prove to myself that I am wrong. She does. I find nothing. Then I think to check the deleted folder. I find weeks worth of emails to a different guy on the cruise. Very inappropriate things. She sent him pictures of how badly her knees were after their last visit. Nuke Meltdown Part 2. I confronted her about this and she denied everything. She didn't realize I looked in the deleted folder and already knew. It was only after I began quoting the emails that she admitted it. She says she never did this before and couldn't give me a reason why she did it. Only that she is hurting so bad for doing this to me. I can't believe anything she says anymore. She says she regrets it but can't give a reason for her actions. Super kicker is we have been in serious talks about finally having kids. And we talked about this when she was there visiting him. I don't know what to think. I told her I can't move past this and will be getting a divorce. I have a consult this week. She says she will not contest the divorce if that's what I really want. She says she is tired of fighting for us to work. We have had a good number of problems in our marriage, but nothing like this. My heart is hurting so badly. Violating my trust and infidelity are the two worst things a woman can do to a man. My heart is screaming 1 minute to make it work and feeling so hurt the next. My head is telling me to eject. She needs therapy. A lot of it. I think I do too after this. I plan to go to therapy when I finally get home. Am I a doormat for even thinking about trying to make this work? I am not telling her anything other than I am moving forward with the divorce. She doesn't use me for my money, she has her own. I am so confused. What should I do? We were planning on going to marriage counseling together when I got home. I wanted her to move back in with me and going to therapy was going to be the litmus test to see if I could truly get over my trust issues. I know my trust issues are bad, but I never lied or deceived my wife. I have always been honest with her. I'm not sure I'm following on what you are saying about wanting trust issues. I don't want trust issues, but I have them. I had a breakthrough a few months ago and felt like I truly gave her my all. I was fully vulnerable. That's why I have trust issues. Being taken advantage of in the past, at a much earlier time in my life. Reading everything I could get my hands on to work through my issues actually helped. But how can I trust her ever again? Why would a woman said of having kids with me do something like this? That is very confusing to me. Am I crazy for even having the faintest feeling of wanting to work things out? I'm not sure I can ever live with myself knowing I gave up on myself for her. Being separated was a step towards divorce in the past. We made each other miserable, but still loved each other, or so I thought. When I was in town, she would either stay with me or I stayed with her. We still cared very much for each other but didn't want to continue making each other sick. I wanted separation and divorce because I wanted her to be happy and I knew my trust issues would never let me make her truly happy. Sort of screwed up, but I wanted divorce to make her happy. She didn't want a divorce, but I couldn't stand seeing her hurt so much by inability to trust her. I had a breakthrough and we started moving forward. I wanted her to move back in. We started talking about kids, the whole 9 yards. It was the best feeling in my life to finally make myself vulnerable to her and have the feeling that she would never do anything to hurt me. As far as working so much, I would be dumb to walk away from my job. Obviously, looking back, not so much. I make a very good wage. We both knew it sucked, but we both agreed to gut it out to get ahead now, so when we have kids, I can be home. And I don't know if the other guy is married. I asked her and she said he told her that he wasn't married. I asked if she was sure. She is not. She almost sounded worried that he might be married. Like she was more concerned about the other spouse more than me. I have read a bunch of other threads about wanting to know details of the affair and how it really doesn't matter. I don't see how it can make things worse. I know because I asked and she was finally honest with me about what happened. I knew it would hurt, but I felt like I needed to know. Not sure why. We had an agreement that if it ever got to be too much with me being gone, she would tell me to come home and I would. I realize what I wrote sounds like I feel that way, but it isn't. I really don't enjoy being gone so much, but I was doing it for us. All these years feel wasted at this point. I have no intention of stopping the divorce process. A part of me thinks if we divorce and start over, we can make things work. But I will never get married again. I don't think I can risk that again. I think I am losing my mind at times because my head and heart don't agree with each other. I plan on divorce still. She already knows this. I very strongly suggested she go to therapy, and I think she has her first appointment this Friday. I am actually looking forward to getting therapy when I get home. Relationship for about a month if you count the cruise and the weeks of emails and visits after. I was looking back, and the entire time she was messing with this guy, we were on the mend, so to speak. I'm not sure if this was an exit affair or what. This really is a roller coaster, but I know I will get on with life. If a spouse is not faithful and divorce must happen, at that point, regardless of past problems, the spouse obviously doesn't think much of the other spouse or the marriage. I do hope to work things out in the future, but the divorce is not up for negotiation regardless of my emotions. I am somehow remaining civil with her through all of this. She has an IC session for this Friday. I have a lawyer consult the same day. I really hope she gets the help she needs. I know I will need some too. I actually look forward to finding someone to help me sort through all of this and what I am really feeling. I know everything is so messed up in my head at this point, and not to take my emotions at face value, simply because I have no idea what I'm feeling when I feel love, disappointment, crushed, hopeful, and who knows what else in the span of 5 minutes. We have talked, and I told her I will continue with the divorce regardless of what I'm feeling. Simply her action equals divorce. If she truly wants to fix us, then she needs to go to IC. I need to go to IC. And if sometime in the future, once we are both better individually, we should do CC, MC. I know I will never forgive her for what she did. What I don't know is if I can ever get past what she did enough to have a relationship with her after everything settles. I may still be crazy for thinking that, but that is why I am going through with the divorce. If I find out down the road I am insane from this, at least I will be out of the marriage cleanly. If I find out I can move past this, then we would have to start over completely. Something that I know crushes her since she wanted to try and get pregnant later this year. She'll have to live that. So, I have been talking to her a couple times daily, sometimes for several hours at a time. I just don't sleep, seriously. I found out more details last night that I thought she had already put to rest. Once again, the truth has been getting covered up. I told her from the start that all I wanted was the truth, regardless of what it actually is. She is very much in need of help. I now know that the instantly regretted it was a lie. That is what I believe anyway. The physical side of this, thus far according to her, was at the hotel only, not on the boat. Last night, after me asking again, would you like to tell me anything, she let me in on what happened on the boat. I simply couldn't believe her legs got so messed up from falling. She initially told me nothing other than a walk alone with him. She was drunk and fell several times. After an hour or so I asked again, and she said they made out. After another hour or so I asked again, and the revelation of X job came to light. I still don't fully believe what she said about getting them. I have over the years had what I thought was a very active physical life with her, and never in my years have I done that much damage from full days of bonding. So, she had multiple physical encounters from the start. I asked her if she instantly regretted her words, and how she could carry on with everything the way she did. When I believed it was the hotel only, I could possibly believe it, with the exception of her actions during the visit. She was treated like an absolute B by this man, and she still had it in her to hop on and finish herself off. But now I see, if she regrets anything, it is getting caught. I have my lawyer consult today, she has IC today. On another note, everyone in her family except the dad had at some point knowledge of what was going on, and in one case even encouraged her to continue this behavior. Some seriously screwed up family values. By the way, I informed her of the advice I was getting and pointed her to this website. She pointed out a few other threads similar to this. In the interest of being honest, I pointed her to this thread. She may or may not in the future post here to give her side of the story. I would ask that if she does, please do not berate her too much. She is still someone I care about, although at this point, I don't know why, and do not wish to see in pain any more than she is too. It's always a compromise. When your heart and your head stop fighting over what is right, you ultimately have to look out for your best interests. It may not be the easy choice, but to stay sane, I think that is why I chose the path I did. Seriously, I have to trust her. Sounds like I'd be setting myself up for more of the same. Maybe you missed the part about me being civil and trying to work through this despite the fact that she keeps lying to me. I have a call with the lawyer in 1 hour. At this point, it is not an option. I am going through with it. What happens after much I see will dictate whether her or I want this to work. If the answer is yes by both of us, then on to CC. If we think it may work, we start over at square one. I thank God I haven't had children with her. My thoughts about her family and their actions were always a sore subject with us. I let it be known I didn't agree with some of the things they did, and she hated me for it. I always thought they would be a bad influence, but she will never listen to me on that. Even now, I know of at least one E prior to this. I found out the same time as the Pa due to picture emails. I couldn't help but notice how many people were saying this couldn't be her first time. or saying she hooked up on the boat. I didn't want to believe it, but good grief, they were right. I put my best effort into this marriage and it wasn't enough. Granted, I haven't been a saint. I honestly took for granted she would be honest with me about wanting to move on. That was something I thought we established when we first started dating seriously. I'm almost indifferent at this point, almost numb to all of this. I can't explain why else I wouldn't be enraged when the truth finally comes out after so many cover-up lies. Lesser than, edit, actually, I think I do know why. I'm in the problem-solving business, so to speak. I formulated a logical plan to deal with this. I think about the possibilities, and a way not to let my emotions get involved. After that, all I have to do is follow my own advice. The polygraph sounds like a damn good idea. I will look into that. As far as letting her know about this website, thread, it doesn't matter to me. This process will take a considerable amount of time, and I doubt she will want to fake it that long. She knows this isn't going to be a quick fix by any means. I was talking to her the other day and she put on lip gloss that I think tastes like soap. Don't like it. And she made the comment she will have to use it all up before I get home. I had to ask her if she thought we would be kissing when I came home. Because we won't be. As much as I may want to fall right back into this relationship due to being a doormat or for reason I don't otherwise understand yet, I would most definitely not be involved with any physical contact with her until after we both cleared all the therapy and started over. I simply don't want to send the message that I think it is acceptable, just as I didn't think what she did was acceptable. As far as getting pregnant, I don't think that would be possible if she didn't lie about it being that time of the month for her. But either way, I already looked up the laws and I would be on the hook regardless if I proved it wasn't mine. My state laws dictate that the man married to a woman is responsible legally for that child, not the man who did the deed. Another reason for no physical contact while I'm home. I don't want to have an accident. I took her being open and honest for granted. We both did things during our marriage to push each other away, but always seemed to work it out and move on. However, she did start this affair 3 days after I was supposed to be home. I was and am still delayed due to unforeseen events. Either way, what is done is done. I can only hope to keep myself together long enough to get home and sort myself out. After reading past emails, I think she checked out on me last year and I didn't realize it. Makes me crazy how she would still talk to me about pregnancy planning and everything else the weekend she saw this guy. I am a bit under the influence right now, so this has taken me several attempts to type correctly. I hope she can see other perspectives as I have. I now know I was a dumb guy for being gone for so long, but I did it for both of us to get ahead in our lives. For both our futures. I know we both gave each other the wrong signals. Either way, I see the error of my ways as I have read not less than 11 books and countless threads on how to make us work and have worked on making myself a better person for her. I acknowledge the fact I have been far from the perfect husband due to my trust issues, PTSD, according to her. I attempted to get past that to make her happy. Too little too late for me. And all of you bitter husbands that don't want to step back and look at the big picture, learn from me. I tried, but I was too late. Listen to the clues. Attempt to read her mind. I failed, but maybe you will succeed. She is driving to the place we used to share to do her taxes. I am chatting with her on I am edited to remove Jeb. So, I had a huge blow up last night. Note to self, do not drink thinking it will help you sleep. I'm a lightweight. By that I mean I drink 10 minutes 20 servings a year. For some reason I thought it would stop my mind from racing. I should have known better. I must have unloaded for hours. I thought it would make me feel better, but it didn't. If Elle talks to me today, I will be surprised. Would it be better to take a few days off from all of this? I have been pushing hard to keep communicating. Maybe I am pushing too hard. I thought I had a little self-restraint through all of this until last night. No yelling, no threats, but I spewed verbal hate to try and make her feel the way I do. I'm still trying to wrap my head around some of the things she said. Specifically, when she told me she regretted it after the very first kiss, yet she continued. That is what is killing me. How can you regret the first kiss and keep things going for weeks and progressing physically? I guess whenever I get I may understand. What you all will never know is how much we supported each other through the hard times each of us experienced. With her past employment producing little to no income for periods of up to 6 months, this job was the one steady thing to keep the bills paid. I grew up with very little and never wanted that to happen again, nor did I want to have my future children have to endure that. It was most definitely not a simple choice of my job over her, and she knew it. I didn't type out that I was actually home more than that, what I put in my original post, because in the grand scheme of things it will boil down to me being gone for far too long. I planned on staying home for good after my first year or so. She then wanted to go back to school because her chosen profession wasn't working out. I got mad but supported that decision by continuing to work. She graduated. I planned on coming home by saving as I finished out my obligation to my employer. She then decided she wanted to go back to school again for another profession. I flipped out. It was finally my turn to come home. In the end I supported her and continued working to support this. And by this, I mean I may not have paid towards school, but I kept the home and other things paid for. She did shoulder some financial burden, but a small portion by comparison. I will also add she is not a big spender. Not the typical wife out there blowing money on clothes and frivolous things. At times I actually had to tell her to go buy new things. I actually stayed home for almost a year due to an injury. I still was able to pay all the bills and knock a year of school out, online, while laid up injured. This added to the resentment. Somehow, I still felt like I shouldered all the responsibility to keep things together financially, even without any real source of income. By this point, things were getting worse in the communication department with her and me. Looking back, I see now that I resented her for those decisions. Me kicking her out, divorce, or threatening to, was a result of me telling her what I expected and what I thought our long-term outlook plan should be to make us work, so both of us could be home. She would shut down and not talk at all to me about it, or she would agree, but as soon as I left for work, it was right back at square one. This was a major source of my frustration and I let her know about it. I have said something to her over and over for many years during our conversations about how to make our future work. I won't type it here, but she will know exactly what I am talking about. If she denies any of the above, I will be surprised. Neither one of us started this relationship planning for it to end this way. I have changed, as has she, very much over the years. I didn't always have trust issues with her. Those developed over time, maybe from me not truly ever knowing what she will decide to do. Education, professionally, etc. The more time spent away from home and the more I supported her decisions, the more resentment and lack of trust I developed. I thought that any day now she would pack up and leave me. Now that she was marketable, she would walk away. Why else would she continue to want another degree or a new profession at the cost of me being gone? My thoughts, I put so much effort into giving her what she wanted in material things, education, profession, that I overlooked what she needed emotionally. A few months after she moved out, I started to realize that we could in fact make this work, but we both needed to lay everything on the table, which I did. One problem with all of this is that fact that all this time she has been telling me what was wrong with me, how I was wrong for feeling the way I did about her. It was my trust issues that made things devolve into the state we had now, prior to affair. She would rationalize her decisions to do things that bothered me by chalking them up to my trust issues or me being irrational. I actually believed her. Everything up to this point, before affair, was my fault. Whether it was right or wrong, I started looking in at myself. I read books and articles on how to get in touch with myself and how to cope with things. I read more books on how to mend the marriage, how to better communicate, pretty much everything I can get my hands on. Slowly I was coming around the bend of dealing with my issues. I thought we were actually improving. It was somewhere around the fall of last year that I had an epiphany. I literally woke up one morning and saw the light. I was going to get through this and make US work. I started to plan on how to spend more time at home. Not completely yet though, I still needed to finish my degree to make that work and still be able to pay the bills, but close to a 50/50 split with work and being home. I know some of you look at that and still say not enough, but realize we have been apart for such long periods of time thus far. This new plan would be a huge improvement that we're both looking forward to. I can verify all of this with emails. It wasn't until this affair occurred that I realized I was the only one doing this. I never realized she had pretty much checked out mentally from US. Again, it was me looking back at emails that would in fact make me realize I was so hard working on myself to improve myself for her that I overlooked her actions. Remember, I truly believed this was my entire fault up until her affair. So now I wonder if this was intentional. I was once again about to be able to spend more time at home and she did another thing to make sure that didn't happen. I look back at her deciding to change professions, get another degree, and wonder if that was the plan the whole time. Keep me from actually ever being able to come home for good. Let me tell you that all along, even before this past year, I have always felt like the woman in the relationship. What I mean by that is that I was the one trying to pry into her about how she felt and what we could do to make US work. I grew up with and around families where that was typically the actions of a wife that was trying to deal with a husband that had shut down. I have always been open and honest with my wife. I grew up actually learning what not to do, rather than what to do. I saw the bad examples growing up and told myself, never will I let that happen. Never will I cheat, lie, be physically abusive, because I saw how bad the consequences are. I lived them as a child. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I figured I would paint a bigger picture of what is going on in my head and our relationship. I do not demonize Elle for being my wife or her actions prior to the affair. I saw them as things we needed to work through. I cannot, however, overlook the affair. I know I will never forgive her for that. What I am trying to figure out is if I can move past that. I still very much love Elle and even now don't want anything bad to happen. The day I found out about the affair, or the original lie she told me, which is completely different, guys, course of events, I was enraged. How could she do that to me? We talked for hours because I couldn't ever believe she would do that to me. When she was finally on her 4-hour drive home, she broke down, her car. I was so worried about her well-being that I stayed up until she was able to get home. I don't understand it. I know it will take IC for me to start truly dealing with this. And to answer back on page 3 or 4, no, haven't received any IC yet. I do plan on it when I get home though. This forum has been insightful and I see good advice. I also see spiteful people that have been burned in the past telling me things too. I know the way each has something to learn from. The divorce is simply going to happen. That is my one way of showing corrective action for what she did. I feel like I would somehow be accepting what she did if I didn't get a divorce. I truly do want to work through things with Elle in the future. I still love her very much, but what I need to figure out with IC is if this feeling is true or is it some sort of separation anxiety that I fear. Is it going to be worth it? For love I say yes, for some twisted emotional reason I can't explain. I don't know. Again, thanks for all the input, good or bad. Negative comments even help. I came to this forum for one reason, to get outside perspective on things. I made my decision about what I wanted to do before I posted a single thing here. I have been reading this forum for the better part of a year. I started way back when we separated. I never thought to get an account until now simply because I had nothing to offer, but I did soak up a lot of advice in that time. The comments and advice posted since have helped me stay sane and point me in the right direction. I believe at some level she does love me or did. I know in my heart if once she gets help, she will find out if she truly still loves me or if she just doesn't want to end this for fear of some separation anxiety mentioned earlier by other posters. Some details of this affair really make me question if that is truly what it is with her. I just don't understand someone regretting their actions and still progressing the regretful actions for another month, all the while leading their spouse on about improving the future. If she determines that she doesn't love me or this is all just too much, I think she will eventually move on. I would want her to. I mentioned it much earlier in the thread that separation and divorce were the only way I saw that I could truly make her happy. Nothing I did made her happy and I didn't want to see her in pain. I knew it would crush me to actually follow through with that, but I put her happiness above mine even if I showed it in a weird way. As far as a poster saying I have been cheating on her, something to the effect that there is no way I could be gone this long and stayed faithful. I feel sorry for you for thinking people can't follow through with their belief structure. Other than a polygraph, which I am willing to submit to, there is no way any of you will ever know. If Elle thinks that is true, I would love to hear about it. I don't think she thinks that is true. I would never do that to another person. Think back to our agreement, which others have already pointed out as bull crap. We had an agreement that if either one of us had enough or wanted to move on, we would tell the other and fix it or move on. It would hurt for both of us, but at least would be honest and open with each other instead of deceitful and ultimately end up crushing the other. I see now that the agreement wouldn't have been needed had the communication been the way it should have been. We would have been open with each other and worked through the problems before it ever even got close to needing an out. I finally got a full night's sleep last night since this started. I feel so much better today, and for those concerned about me drinking, I did it simply to go to sleep. I don't drown my problems in the bottle. Another thing I learned growing up with an alcoholic parent. That's probably why I don't really drink much. She is actually somewhat in the business, which make it that much harder to figure out if she used that against me or if she really is that far gone. Her response to my letter to her about this, when I initially found out, was a 12-page response in which she detailed all the other factors in her life that led up to her getting a hotel room and how she was actually with another man that was her sister's unwanted boyfriend and how nothing happened. This was of course nothing but complete lies. Keep in mind this, and before I found out the truth via emails. After I started quoting emails is when the truth and more lies started coming out. I would catch her in a lie and then she would give in. I would find her in another lie and she would give in. This took place over and over. I told her to lay it all on me. I was at rock bottom and I didn't want to start crawling up only to find out another lie and end right back at the bottom. This cycle continued over and over. I still don't know if I got the whole truth or just enough. I think when we started our marriage, I was a different person, as was she. Looking back, I never worried about her actions like have in the more recent years. I never worried about her going out for a girls' night out or going on vacation with her family without me. That developed over time. I noticed little changes in her that piqued my interest. So, I guess, over time her actions made me trust her less and less. I would tell her things that made me uncomfortable and she would continue doing them, telling me it was my mind that was the problem. If she told me something that made her uncomfortable, I changed, I stopped doing it. For instance, years ago she told me having an ex-girlfriend as friends online made her uncomfortable. I told her that yes, she was an ex, but she married my best friend after we broke up. But I did end up removing her and never contacted her again. I told her the same thing about her exes or other guys on her pages and she never removed them. I chalked it up to my trust issue that she repeatedly told me was my issue. For instance, right after this cruise she wouldn't even talk to me about anything she did on the cruise. I got secondhand information about it via Facebook. I didn't think much of it as she had to get right back to work and catch up on all the work she missed while being gone. I started seeing pictures of another man, not the affair, the supposed unwanted boyfriend of her sister, and that got me thinking. She never even mentioned this guy until I confronted her about the hotel room. I did, however, see comments on her FB page by him and her family about things that made me uncomfortable, like name tags with star or evil mind or stuff to that effect. That is what truly got me looking into what actually happened and why I started questioning why she was taking multiple trips to a town 4 hours away when she would spend less than 24 hours in town. While I do think I had issues from past relationships, I don't think I brought them to our marriage. I think they were in the back of my mind, but not a cause for my current line of thinking. To say they weren't there would be a lie. I take experiences from my life and try to grow from them. Try to improve. It sounds corny, but I continually try to improve myself and our relationship for the better. I always thought people that grew content fell into ruts that would cause problems later in life. I always wanted us to look for improvement. As far as never truly knowing about her past indiscretions, I will never know unless she tells me. I had feelings or hunches many times in the past and have confronted her about it, but nothing ever came of it. She has mentioned it in her posts about me accusing her, but I think any husband, who at the time was not scheduled to be home, answers his wife's phone in the middle of the night and hears another man asking where to meet her would think the same thing I did. What the hell? Or any husband who finds out after the fact about his wife going out to bars, with or without co-workers, would think the worst. Why wouldn't she just tell me that's where she was? And of course, you can understand why I would be concerned about her going out and partying with her sisters. I thought these actions were inappropriate for a married spouse to do. People don't go to bars without realizing that most guys are looking to hook up, especially if you go out without your spouse and deceive him about where you were. I realize people need to go out and blow off some steam, and she intact informed me about going out with 3 male co-workers after our blow-up. May have been before I found out the truth and still believing it was the sister's boyfriend's story. And I told her, thanks for telling me. I am uncomfortable with you going out to a bar with 3 other men, but I understand you need to blow off steam. Have fun. But there are things that I truly find inappropriate for a married spouse to do, male or female, and she has over the years always told me that it had everything to do with my trust issues. I may be a little older-fashioned in my line of thinking due to past experiences, but I always tried to make her comfortable with my actions. She was uncomfortable about me going to a strip club for a bachelor party, so I didn't go. I didn't even go to one for my own bachelor party. I respected her enough not to put her in that position. Granted, there have been plenty of times in the past I did things that made her uncomfortable, and I have told her about it after the fact. After the fact simply because I couldn't exactly pick up a phone and call her every detail. I was hoping to convey to her that despite doing what she didn't like, I was open enough to tell her about it. Keep in mind, I did nothing during these occasions that would damage my integrity. I was along for the ride, so to speak. Update: we have been talking a lot in a constructive manner. Both want to work this out, but she keeps lying to me. I still plan to follow through with the divorce. I have been getting the trickle truth still as of today. Why is it so hard to understand when someone says, just tell me the truth regardless of what it is? I ask a direct question about what happened. I get a story. A few days pass and I ask again. I get more to the story with an explanation that she didn't purposely omit the detail. She thought it didn't matter. Apparently, that means I'll tell you what I want, when I want, and that's only if you ask the right question when I feel like tell you. She has had 2 IC sessions so far. She says it helps, but I beg to differ if she still is lying to me. So far, everything people on here have said has pretty much been coming true. And as for the marriage working with me being gone so much, obviously that didn't work. I do think it is possible with the right communication, but when one person cannot tell the truth, it definitely shortens the lifespan. I don't plan on being gone so much in the future, but if I'm not married, I have no reason to be home more. Stages of lies is outright lies or omission. The physical part was in the hotel only. The ex-job on boat revealed. Ex-job in car the weekend of the shopping trip. Sleeping in the car for the shopping trip. There is obviously more in the details. Too much to list since this started to as a 12-page lie. This is sickening considering I have been putting myself out there trying to mend this. I knew I was getting a divorce regardless, but I was hoping to start over fresh the right way, the honest way, but I see that may be too much to ask. I keep getting lies or omissions as each day passes. I don't know at what point I will just stop taking this. I'm pretty much ready just to write her off though. This entire time all I asked for was the truth, so I know what I truly have to overcome. And I still don't have a reason why all this occurred or how if she regretted it. She continued over the span of about a month. I may just need to cut my losses and move on. This is getting to be too much for me. Is this normal for a WS to continue to lie when they say they want to work this out? Also, to add, I don't think she will be coming back here. She told her therapist and was advised against it. Thought she would get to beat up here. Obviously, her therapist is more worried about her well-being. She told me to use the same therapist so the therapist could get both sides of the story. I don't think they even approached the infidelity topic yet. I will most definitely not use the same therapist. I find it hard to believe a single person can objectively counsel 2 people with opposing views. Also, her therapist advised her against telling me further about the affair. Basically, lie to me. Not sure if that's standard or not. It was justified so I didn't have to continue dealing with the affair. I don't know how that would be any good when I keep asking for the truth about the affair. But who knows, maybe she is lying about that too. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. I can see this is already paying off. She can't stop lying. How do I know when, if she starts telling me the truth? Basically, I am covering the spread. With our talks we both know her, so I thought that we wanted to try and make this work, but plan for the worst in the event that one of us has enough. I have been very considerate of her through this whole process. With the exception of the one blows-up I had, I have remained calm and supportive of her through this. I have bent over backwards so far to help her get help and work this out. I sort of thought it needs to go the other way, but I know she is weak at times. As far her therapist helping her, not us, I knew that would be the case. I was stating the obvious, not being sarcastic. I can't convey that typing. How am I supposed to even trust her to try and make us work when I can't even trust her to tell the truth? I couldn't have been more direct with my line of questioning or about what I think it will take to make us work. But somehow, she still continues to lie, even after I tell her that if she lied, I would be back at the bottom of the pit. She did it anyway. We have literally talking more than 4 hours a day, around 8 hours a day on the weekends. It's not a lack of communication. My theory is she is just trying to provoke me to make me give up and call everything off to make us work. There is a better therapist I was looking at. I have no real experience with IC in the area, but I read plenty of reviews. The therapist I am looking at specializes in infidelity. I don't know what I am supposed to get past without knowing what she did. Did she do lines of coke in the process of getting intoxicated? Did she expose herself to STDs by not using a condom? Being told she regretted it instantly sort of doesn't fly with me. How can you instantly regret something and continue that behavior for another month? And I still haven't gotten the answer as to why. I get 12 pages of lies or 20 minutes about her family made her mad. She says she didn't believe me when I said we needed to start planning on kids, which is one thing she points to for this affair. My actions for close to the past year would indicate otherwise. I am fixing up our place to rent or sell. I bought a lot to build a house on so the kids can grow up in a nice neighborhood. I have been financial planning for the long-term future the entire time. Oh, and the day we actually planned out the ovulation cycles, she had just got done sleeping with the other guy. Literally an hour after the fact. Oh, and the details don't matter. I was coping with everything she told me the far just fine, or as fine as to be expected. I needed to know so I have a no-crap idea of what I must overcome. Stare the problem in the face and deal with it, not sweep it under the rug and blindly go on with life. Just an update. The divorce is in process. She has gathered support from family and friends, some of which are my family, on her Facebook account, I assume for sympathy without letting anyone know why she is depressed. Knowing what she told people about me in the past and during the confrontation period, I can only assume she leads them to believe I am the cause of all her problems. We chatted shortly yesterday after about 3 weeks with little to no communication. She decided she would rather go out for the night with friends than chat with me about all of this. Point taken. Of course, that is nothing new. She did that many times in the past, and in one instance, did it to actually go further the affair. I have come to the realization that she was over the marriage long before I even worked on myself, well before her affair, and was looking for a way out. She just didn't want to appear to be the bad guy. Now I am the bad guy for confronting her about the affair and filing for divorce. I'm going to keep working on myself. I see now that it is pointless to even worry about her anymore. I now know she was never willing, and currently not willing to change her behavior that was the source of my frustration for so many years. I asked for help and information from her family and got lied to by some and flat out no help from the others. It would do no good. She had them block me on FB immediately after I called her out on all of this anyway. That, and I went ahead and deleted any mutual friends or in one case a person, I would call him an acquaintance more than a friend, that I later found out that she had an IA with, possibly a PIA since I found a 2 a.m. call and email to him. STBX responds. I was supposed to go for my master's to support him, but he decided he wanted to go to school after my bachelor's, so we rerouted the plan. He didn't remember that until about a week ago. We never intended for me to work with this bachelor's degree. It was a means to an end, the master's degree that could support both of us. I finished up my bachelor's in 3 semesters, 1 calendar year, because I took 18 credits per semester and went all summer long. So, keeping him gone another year is incorrect. I was 28 years old and commuting close to an hour each way, so I was definitely a misfit among a bunch of 19-year-old and not living the crazy single life you are imagining. My family that you picture me laughing maniacally with lives nearly 4 hours away, so at best I visit them on a weekend once a month. I am the only one in this area. Get off your high horse and quit making ridiculous stuff up. I understand that people all are trying to make OP feel better. I have tried to do that myself. I have tried apologizing. I have tried going through the marriage fitness program. I have tried writing daily journals to OP to show him what is going on in my head. I still go to IC weekly. I signed a waiver so that if he goes to the same counseling center, the ICs may discuss whatever I have discussed in my sessions freely in order to help him along in his healing process. I have tried to answer all of his questions to the best of my ability, but I was not ready when I was first confronted, as it was approximately 2 hours after ending the affair. I was sorting out my feelings and trying to decide whether or not I wanted to reconcile. At that time, I do know that I knew it was wrong, I knew it would hurt him, I knew that I was checked out emotionally, and I knew what was missing from our relationship and what I needed to see if it was ever going to work. I thought I saw it over the next couple of weeks. I told him that we both had a decision to make though, that we both needed to be 100% committed to reconciling in order to make it work. And for that reason I was hesitant to commit to moving back into our shared home until a decision was made on both ends. We both recognized that there were things lacking in our marriage. I understood that I had hurt him very deeply and I regretted having let it get to that point and wished we could have sat down face to face to handle all of this. We did not have the face-to-face time as a luxury and I should have taken whatever I could have gotten. In our case, webcam would have had to suffice. We've seen more sides of each other in the past 2 months than I think we ever have. We've been apart for so much of our marriage that we've forgotten how to work together, and I think that is what has broken us. I don't see how we are able to patch this back up because I think the years have worn me down and the recent deep cuts I have made to him are just much too deep to forgive. Our battle scars are just too much for either of us to handle. It is unfortunate, because I still look at him in our pictures and think that he is the most handsome man I have ever seen, and I look at him and think that I have never been able to share so much with any one person, and I think that I never imagined for any of this to happen, and I look down at my own hands and feel like I've got his blood on them and I don't think I can fix it. Then I look up in the mirror and I hate myself because I was entrusted with his heart and I broke it beyond repair and have to live with that. OP responds, her coverage is either insufficient or doesn't cover the IC she is attending. As I understand it, mine is the primary for coverage. And no, I am not on her coverage. I actually offered to put her IC on my coverage until we got divorced, assuming things ultimately didn't work between us. This, however, was when my plan was to file for divorce but hold off on signing the paper myself until we gave an honest effort at making things work. Last night was a repeat of a few weeks ago. Due to the time change, I get up at 5 a.m. to talk with her. Of course, last night she was heading out to go bar hopping again instead of talk to me. I've had enough. She is contesting for half and half. I'm sure she will get according to the state of Florida. At this point I am ready to do whatever is needed to get this over with. What I don't think she realizes is that I have more liability than assets. I of course took on all the mortgage debt myself. Even with half of everything, assets I have included, she will still incur a sizable amount of debt. I actually was planning on taking on all the mortgage debt myself, thus the reason why I wanted everything of value that I have paid for. I would be surprised if she paid 5% of the total amount paid on the mortgage thus far. I guess that's what I get for trying to get ahead in life. I get to throw it down the drain to a woman who cheated on me. My comment, life will get better. Let your wife keep heading her life down the drain. By the time you get home and get divorced, she will be ready for knee replacement. Get her off your insurance.